Hi, everybody. Welcome back to ISA Insider News. My name is Max Tim, and who do we have with us today?
I'm Shayna Weber,
Oh, that's
although my background's a little bit different today
yeah. We're going a little
because,
more cash, but why? What are you up to?
well, we are doing emerging screenwriters interview series interviews this week. So we rearranged the studio that I'm in. And yeah, so I'm improvising this week with a new background that says, obviously.
I love it. I think this sounds great, man. Yeah, we're going to go a little bit short today. It'll be a much tighter. I shouldn't say tighter. I think our broadcasts are always tight, but a little bit shorter because Shayna and Scott, our editor, are kind of in the thick of things in terms of these interviews. But how's it been going? Is it good?
Yeah, it's been good. We've done a few so far, and I feel like I'm personally learning some good tips and
Okay.
background information about writers. So it's actually been fun, yeah. And having Scott here is great.
Yeah, Scott's been texting me some pictures from LA, and then he's saying, "Yeah, we got to make a trip out here. It's been forever, and I miss Los Angeles, man. I know it's different when you're there, and you're just kind of like, well, I don't know, whatever. But when you're
Right.
away, after a while, it's like, yeah, this is it's you miss the city, even though LA doesn't always feel like a city. But
Yeah.
let's get right into our top headline.
This week, our top headline is Blonde. We are talking about the Marilyn Monroe inspired biopic, fictionalized biopic
Yeah,
starring Anna de Armas. Max and I both watched it. So we have our opinions, but there have been just a slew of people hating this movie, calling it exploitation, and we couldn't disagree more.
I think what bothers me is that people are hating it for reasons that are obvious to the film. Like, that's why it's been made. It was made to exploit. It was made to show misogyny. And like so many people are commenting on how, oh, it's so misogynistic, and how dare this male director, create a movie based on, our beloved Marilyn Monroe's life. And I just don't think they're seeing it as what it was intended to be. And it was intended to be all of the things you're saying it is. I think that's why I got so passionate about it this past week. If anybody follows me on social media, I was mainly on my personal account on Facebook, but I was just so bothered by it because I saw in terms of the comments was not taking into account how beautifully well done it was from a cinematic place. Like, you don't have to like the movie, of course, nobody's forcing you to even watch it. But in terms of an art form, I thought it was incredible, really incredible.
Yeah, I after I read your comments, then I decided I was going to watch it because originally I did not want to watch it, and not because of the reasons that people are complaining, because I'm not a huge Marilyn Monroe fan in terms of her personally, Norma Jean. She always felt very sad to me, and I personally never understood people idolizing her, believing that she had it all and everything was so great, because all I saw was sadness. So when I watched this movie, I felt all of those things. And I think that a lot of people are holding on to this image that they want her to be. And it's personal to them in a way that she's this icon of what you can achieve. And when you bring that down to a very human level, and somebody who has been treated very badly, and all the things that happened to her, fictionalized or not, put a female in that situation, and it's horrifying. So it really pulls you out of that space where you're holding on to this icon. It's like, I was trying to relate it to somebody, like if somebody did a Christopher Reeve movie where he was an a-hole in his real life and he did a bunch of bad things, it would be like, ugh, it would hurt me. So I can understand why some people feel that way about depicting Marilyn Monroe in this way. But I mean, I thought it was gorgeous. I thought Anna de Armas did absolutely fantastic job. I barely heard her accent, and it didn't really matter to me.
Yeah, yeah, I heard it a little bit. I think the only downside with really making any movie starring anyone who is playing Marilyn Monroe is that you're gonna see the actress as Marilyn Monroe. Like, it's, oh, this is Anna de Armas playing. There's no, because of the type of icon that Marilyn is. And I completely understand what you're saying. It was really well said, because that is, I think, what people are bothered by. How dare you take this person that we revere and turn her into such a victim, like a victim to this point. I'm a huge fan of Marilyn Monroe. I've got her, I don't know if I've got a whole bunch of her up here. And what I love about her is her aspirations in the midst of the trauma, like true trauma that she experienced. And I think that's why it's hard to say enjoyed the film.
Right.
Because there's really nothing enjoyable about it. But from an art form sake, like I was saying, I think it's important for all of us in terms of writers to remember that this isn't just an industry filled with Marvel and Star Wars and Pixar and Disney, and there's room for this. And we forget that film is supposed to be an art form, and it's supposed to be telling us things and showing us things sometimes that make us very, very uncomfortable, because then that makes us look at how we are acting and reacting in the world. And the level of misogyny in her time, it's bad now in terms of our current world. I mean, I can't even imagine what it was like back then. And then you have someone who looks like Marilyn trying to make it as a star in that time. I honestly, that movie is what I imagine was the nightmares going on in her head, So it's polarizing. You should watch it and make your own opinion. You don't have to love this movie, but I think it's important.
A bit of advice is to take the Marilyn that you know and love and adore out of it and look at it as an actress during that time in Hollywood, and sort of just take the whole icon thing out of it and just replace it with Norma Jean, which is kind of what it's implying that she wanted, that they were two separate people. So that's kind of what I tried to do, is just take her out of the equation and just watch it as a story of an actress during that time. And what
totally. Yeah, I mean, you can do all the Google searches you want and read all these different articles. They're very, very perspective based. Try to stay open-minded. I mean, the one we chose is an interview and reference to the woman who wrote the book Blonde. And this, she said up front, this is a fiction novel, a biographical fiction novel. This is not a biopic, which does make a difference. But there are a whole bunch of other articles that have pretty rough headlines that we won't even bother reading. But yeah, so let us know what you think of Blonde. In terms of the comments, please keep it kind. You're of course entitled to your opinion, but opinions with an open mind are usually a little bit better received. So we'll take it from there.
We are moving on to ISA articles.
This week in ISA Insider, what do we got here? We have an interesting one. And this, we chose this because I've had this question pop up literally to me by my personal one-on-one writers at least 3 times in the past month. So I thought, this is good timing.
Yeah, this is a good one. It's in the ISA articles main page, Screenwriting Within the Parameters of a Film Budget by Jeff Orgill. And it basically just talks about if you as a writer need to know or write with a budget in mind, say I'm writing a very low budget with no special effects and no stunts and no animals and all of those things, are those things that you need to worry about when you're writing your script.
And they are things you should take into account. But at least, and at the very least, just a consideration of having a range. I think my film can be made between 3 and 6 million, 3 and 7 million, or under 10. That kind of range at least allows the industry to understand the type of movie you're trying to make, and within what parameters. But then, as far as this article is concerned, the writer makes 3 very positive notes. Some of them are a little difficult for writers to do. Work on a film yourself, talk to line producers and UPMs, unit production managers, limit your film's scope. It's good advice. It is interesting that he has this organization called Film Budgeteers. And it's kind of cool. I mean, it is a paid service, but if you compare what they charge, which is like $190, to what an actual line producer would charge, it's quite a bit less expensive.
That's amazingly inexpensive to just get a framework of what your budget would be.
Yeah, which is more often than not all you really need if you're not going to be making the movie yourself. So you can check out Film Budgeteers. But the easiest way to do it is just pick a movie that is similar to the one you're trying to write, in the same genre, same vein, feel, tone, etc., and go to IMDb Pro. I did this for the movie Smile. This is a big hit currently right now. I think I want to. Have you seen it? You haven't seen it yet.
I've seen the preview and oh my God, I don't want to see it because I don't. It terrifies me. Those are creepy smiles.
They really are
I don't
scary.
want to smile at me. I don't want to do that. I
Yeah.
don't want to enter that world. So I will wait until I can watch in my living room in the middle of the day and then we'll go from there.
Okay. All right. Yeah. No, that's fair enough. I agree. It gives me anxiety just thinking about it. But so I just thought, okay, well, I wonder how much it costs to make Smile. So I went to IMDb Pro. If you don't have IMDb Pro and you can afford $20 a month, best $20 a month you're going to spend if you're in this industry. They don't show the budget, but it does show box office. Opening weekend was 22 million, worldwide gross 36.5. And when I read that, I thought, whoa, that's a good opening weekend, because I did not expect the budget to be where it was. And so then I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to Google movie budget or budget for a movie Smile. And it was the first thing that popped up. It said 17 million, like in big, bold reference. So even Google can figure out how much this movie cost.
On movies like that are in between that place of 10 and 20, even like 5 and 20, they generally will tell you, especially if they make more. The Black Phone, which was also another horror movie, same budget, 18 million.
Interesting.
So interesting that that was a kind of a sweet spot
Yeah.
between 10 and 20. That's kind of the sweet spot for those types of, high concept horror movies with theatrical release. It's a good sweet spot, less than 20 million.
Yeah. I think and it's usually pretty easy to find out. If you can't, just keep searching for movies that are in the same vein, and you'll be able to eventually find, generally speaking, what that budget is. I do know that Netflix considers, and this could have changed by this point, but they consider their low budget films 30 million or less. That's a pretty relative term, because a lot depends on your genre. If you're writing horror, I would try to write something that could be done for less than 10 million, because it's only going to help your chances of not only getting it made, but making a profit. So, if they made 17 million, they probably spent another 10 or so on advertising and prints and all this stuff. So their opening weekend, they are probably already pulling a profit. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, I do want to say one thing about writing for a budget, because I do write in the horror space and we're always thinking about that. But you have to also realize that when you get it to a producer, they will have an imagination, and they will understand that. I mean, as long as you're being reasonable and you can change something in the script, it's changeable. You don't need to worry so specifically about each location or something like that. Like, because that can be reworked to fit, as long as you're not outrageous. Like, you're not dumping a van off of the river and you're underwater shooting stuff. Like, realize that that's a lot of money to do. So yeah, I mean, if you're reasonable, don't think like, oh, I can't use this location because it would be like too much. Because if there's two people talking, you can move that.
Right. Yeah.
So if it
Totally.
helps the story, then when you want to put it someplace cool, then do that. But realize that it can be changed.
Yeah. The easy things to consider when, in terms of considering what makes a movie expensive: special effects, obviously, big, huge set pieces, like the building falling down or something, like a whatever, an explosion of any kind, almost. Big group, like
Lots of extras.
a lot of
Crowds.
extras, crowd scenes. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Like you're saying, underwater stuff. You just kind of think logically, and you're like, oh yeah, it probably would cost a lot of money.
Car chases. Those are expensive
You
because
read my
they
mind.
also have to think about the time it's going to take to film that. So
Yeah.
it's not only expensive and that all of these people have to be involved, but all the time it's going to take to properly shoot that in the best
Right.
way.
Yeah. Just watch Rings of Power and you realize, oh yeah, okay. This is
Yeah.
a lot of money. And kind of, that's a nice little segue going into what are we watching. So you watched a movie I have not. Oh, you watched both of them. I'm so excited to see what you think about these two movies.
So I had never seen Hocus Pocus. And so I wanted to watch Hocus Pocus 2 because, spoiler alert, I'm being one of the Sanderson sisters for Halloween. And so I felt like I need, because we're doing trunk or treat, which is like where kids walk around to cars at school and you decorate
Oh,
your
that's fun.
car trunk to be like a theme, and then you dress up and then they trick or treat around the cars instead of houses. So we're doing like a Hocus Pocus theme, and I'd never seen it. So we watched the first one and I thought it was Very cute. I really liked it. I enjoyed it. And then I watched the second one later that day. And I swear those women don't age.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. I mean, I think that you can't go into it expecting, some mega Hollywood Oscar worthy movie. It was fun.
Yeah.
And the storyline was absolutely perfect for what they needed to do in a sequel. It was very fun and cute and didn't lose my sense of tension for an hour and a half. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's Hocus Pocus is kind of the essential, fun, sometimes a little cheesy Halloween holiday movie. Yeah, and it's like, okay, we'll go into it thinking that. It's been a long time since I've seen the first one. But because it's become such a pop culture reference, I'm eager to watch number two. And plus it feels like this Halloween, this season, they've got so many fun, spooky shows and movies coming out. Maybe not the ones like Smile that might actually keep you from smiling for the rest of your life, but I'm just excited to get into Halloween mode. We're going to probably have an episode where we're going to be talking about our favorite scary movies and things once we get closer to Halloween. But yeah, Blonde was the only thing I watched that was new. And it really took up a lot of my brain power because it was just so moving in so many different ways. But I do want to nerd out a little bit with Rings of Power. Just a second. Have you watched the most recent episode?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So how many episodes are you in?
Let's see. I think I've watched 3.
Oh,
4. How many have there been?
6.
So, yeah, I think I watched 1 through 3.
Okay. So far. All right. So you've got a lot of things that are coming up that are pretty fun and exciting. I've had a whole bunch of really fun. I felt like I was in college all over again, conversations with strangers on Facebook. I'm like, this is why this is so much fun. I don't care if people hate the show and thinks it's cheesy. I honestly don't think it is cheesy. It's so well done. But I started delving back into all the research I did in college on the books other than the Lord of the Rings. And Tolkien wrote so many different things, and his son helped publish all of them after Tolkien passed away. But one thing to remember that is tripping everybody up is that Sauron, the bad guy, the big dude who was just the eye in Lord of the Rings, he was known as the Deceiver, and he came in and shapeshifted his way to power, basically.
Oh.
And knowing that, I had totally forgotten this, and I was like, oh my God. And I saw it on Facebook, like, you're right. So I did all this research. And it's interesting to know that the producers of the show didn't have specific rights to the book, The Silmarillion, which has very specific names of characters, which technically means they're not able to use those names. So they've had to change some things up as far as who is who. And so now there was all this talk about who actually is Sauron. And we have probably already met him. And that's what is driving me crazy right now, because I don't know who it is yet.
That's awesome.
It blows me away because I'm like, oh God.
What a great reveal that's going to be. Like, especially for people who don't know or aren't aware and aren't looking for it. That's going to be so great.
Yeah. No, it's been so much fun.
You don't know if they're doing a great job of hiding it.
Seriously. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of rumors going around. And then, of course, House of the Dragon last night, it got a whole bunch of negative reviews because it was so dark.
Like the screen was dark. It was hard to see. Not like the content matter was dark, and like it was actually like hard to see, right? Hard to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you seen it yet?
I haven't seen it yet either. Okay. But I did read those articles about it. It was hard to watch, and I was like, wait, what? What do you mean? It was like difficult content, and then I was like, oh no, they said they did it on purpose.
Yeah. Now, if you watch in a dark enough room, you're fine. Honestly, I noticed, oh wow, this is kind of dark, but it didn't keep me from watching. All right, let's move over to good news of the week. But we had a nice little story that we found.
Yeah, this is actually pretty cool. We found this on the goodnewsnetwork.org, which we tend to jump to when we're looking for something to feel good. And this is a great story. Free life jackets loaned to anyone in need, now in 1,000 locations across the U.S., saving lives. Yeah. So there is a company in
Clearwater, Florida, I believe. Yeah. They crossed a huge milestone last month, setting up location number 1,000 at the beach in Clearwater, Florida. So actually, now that I look through this again, I think it was on the East Coast somewhere where they first started this. But 1,000 locations is really pretty impressive. And it's all a nonprofit organization. And some really just wonderful quotes here that I think our world can use right now. We believe that financial struggles or lack of access to resources should never be an obstacle to safety. Duh. Just a really feel good story, really easy and short to read. It's they're saying this means an awful lot from an outreach and education standpoint. If you don't have a life jacket, you can't wear one. With this program, there's no reason for someone to go out on the water without one.
Yes.
And then there are some links in here if you wanted to donate to their foundation. It's pretty cool.
You should not go out without a life jacket, even if you are a good swimmer, because if you're going out on rough waters or in the ocean or in a bay, or even in anywhere that is not calm water, like a swimming pool, even maybe swimming pool if you're not seasoned, but wear a life jacket. And now you have a place to go to find one that you can borrow for free.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool. It's just nice to see organizations out there doing something for the good of just doing it, as opposed to just trying to make a profit, So
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, that is our show, everybody. It's a short and sweet one. Shayna has to get back to some interviews, huh?
I do. It's it's my brain is full this week, so we decided to make it short.
All right, well, have fun. Say hi to all the writers, but that's it, everybody. That's our news for the week. See you next time.